Hi, everybody. My name is Mitch Robertson, and I will be teaching you how to maximize user engagement by designing a dynamic survey. Now, I am currently the Customer Insights Analyst for the Center of Customer Insights and Digital Marketing, as well as the Director of Data Science for the Analytics and Marketing Insights Club. Now, if everyone could please take this survey, I'll be posting in the chat now. It will preview today's lessons, as well as discover behavioral insights in the students at Cal Poly Pomona. So I'll give you a couple seconds to start that. Great. So let's preview the learning objectives in order. After this workshop, you should be able to know how to get started in Qualtrics, explain how to establish credibility and gain trust from participants using a cover page, design the survey to filter out participants who are not yet eligible for the survey, improve engagement with participants by avoiding irrelevant questions, make the survey responsive to the participants' previous responses, explain how to eliminate question choice location bias, and be familiar with Qualtrics menus and functions. Great, so let's get started on our first learning objective. Now, you can obtain your Qualtrics account through the instructions sent out in the reminder email for their event, or through your MyCPP portal, or through the CCIDM website in this link, which I will drop in chat now. And I'll give a moment for those not yet set up their account in Qualtrics where I go over some history and applications. It was founded by 2002 in Seattle and then acquired by SAP in 2018 and is now publicly traded. It also has applications in market research and allows streamlined research in any subject. Every market research company is familiar with Qualtrics, and being proficient at Qualtrics will help you get a job in a marketing firm and have streamlined data analysis. Now, I will be starting to operate in Qualtrics, so if you've not yet set up your account, don't worry. This workshop will be recorded and posted on the CCIDM YouTube channel. Great. So this is a Learn by Doing college, so let's get started together. First, we will establish credibility and gain trust from participants by using a cover page. So by using that link I dropped in chat, we'll be landed at this page and simply tap this link. You'll be greeted by this landing page. And as you can see, I have this survey I've sent out, but we'll be creating a new project at this bottom left corner. And when you create that, we get to this menu, and you can see these presets at the bottom. And as you unlock more and more experience in Qualtrics, these presets will be of more use to you. But right now, let's just start from scratch in a survey. We have this Create a New Project screen. Under the folder, it'll come up, and we can also start this survey by a blank or importing a Qualtrics file, which I will show you later. But let's just name this survey Qualtrics Workshop Tutorial. Great, and let's create the project. You will then be taken into this page under Survey tab and Builder tab. This will be our header, which is the head of the project, and we get a question block, and it already writes the first question as a multiple choice question. So let's rename the block, which is known as a grouping for the questions. Say cover page. Now, a cover page is very important because it's all about informed consent. Now, I have preset answers that I have here, and I will drop that link to the Google Doc so you can follow along quickly with me. Great. So accessing that doc. We get to write in our question text, and I will paste that out. Now it does appear as a block of text, and let's separate this to the sections of the informed consent form. Dear survey participant, I am conducting a research study, stratified study of behavior of CBA majors, the goal of which is to understand how students interact with various aspects of the CPP campus. So we told them the goal of the study. Your participation is strictly voluntary and all your responses will be anonymous, combined with those of others and analyzed at an aggregate level. None of your personal responses will be traceable back to you. Great, so we need to address whether it's anonymous or confidential. Participating in the study implies that you have read this information in the form and consent to take part of the research. If you kindly choose to participate in the survey, please answer all questions as candidly as possible. So that is our informed consent. And we also need to address risk and benefit. There are no known risks or discomforts involved with participation in this study. The potential benefit is that your responses to the questions will assist in advancing knowledge on behavioral patterns of students at CPP. So we also addressed risk and benefit. The entire survey should take approximately 5 to 10 minutes to complete. We told them approximately how long. And this last part, we need to attach our contact information. If you have questions about the research, you may contact me at my email address. You may also contact my research advisor at his email address for further questions. Now, if you had an IRB, Institutional Review Board, you would also need to attach your certification number and the IRB Research Office contact information. So here we have sincerely, my name, Cal Pi Pomona, and my contact information again. By selecting yes, I would like to participate in this research on the question below, you are agreeing that you've given your consent to take the survey and you're at least 18 years of age. If they are not 18 years of age, we cannot have them take the survey because it presents a liability issue. Great, so we have our first question. And you see Qualtrics will give us default answers here. We're going to change this to yes, I would like to participate in this research, and no, I would not like to participate in this research. So we're going to narrow down our number of choices to 2 and simply paste them in. Great. It add this at the end. Let's remove that choice. Great. So we just set up our cover page. It does informed consent. It has risks and benefits. It has voluntary, anonymous. Gives approximately how long it will take to complete, my research information, and the consent again with 18 years. Great. So let's review what we just did. We used the cover page as the informed consent form. We went over the components of the informed consent form, which is the purpose, the duration, potential risk or benefit, anonymous versus confidential, contact information, consent statement and agreement at the bottom, and we got through the demonstration. Congratulations, we just finished our first learning objective. So moving on. Next, we will filter out respondents by using skip logic. Skip logic is used to narrow down participation eligibility. And when conducting research, researchers are looking at responses from a certain demographic called the target demographic. We want to draw conclusions about the population from the sample. Now, in my survey, I'm looking for undergraduate College of Business Administration majors. So that means we will narrow out graduate students and non-College of Business Administration students. We will do this by using skip logic. So let's go back to Qualtrics and click Add Block. It's kind of like chapter 2 of the survey. So here, under the naming of the block, I'll go CBA undergrad. Because this is the part of the survey where we narrow out everyone who is not a CBA undergrad. And we'll over here do add new question. And when we pull this up, we'll get choices of what questions we want to add. Now, most of your questions will be multiple choice, which you're familiar with, but there's also options for text entry, which allows any free text to go in, simply text or graphic with no answer available, a matrix table, which I will show an example of later, and sliders, form fields, ranking order, and side by side. So let's just use multiple choice. And we will do from the Google Doc. A simple question: are you a part of the CBA, College of Business Administration? And that is a simple yes, no. And we once again get greeted by the presets. Oh, we'll again take that right down to 2 and go yes, no. Great. We'll do this choice. Are you a part of the CBA? Yes or no. Great. And how do we attach skip logic? So first, we're going to click the question. And on this left column, we're going to come down to question behavior. Now, question behavior manipulates Qualtrics in order to change the things that presents the participant with. So let's attach skip logic, and we'll get this menu. Skip from this question to end the survey if yes is selected. So if we were to do skip the survey if no is selected is the correct answer. Because if they hit no, we want them to be skipped to the end of the survey because they're not eligible. They're not our target demographic. So let's add a couple questions before we preview this. We're going to add another multiple choice. And the next question will be, we achieved that they are CBA, but we also need to weed out if they are an undergraduate or graduate student. So are you currently enrolled as an undergraduate or graduate student? Now this is question, graduate student or undergraduate student. Here we go. Great, and let's attach that skip logic one more time. We'll get presented with this menu, skip from this question to end the survey if graduate student is selected. Great, so it's about time we hopped in this preview. And Qualtrics is a very, very helpful tool of preview up at this right corner. And preview will open it in a new tab, just as the way participant will be faced with the question. So we open it and we see this great format here. Our consent screener had paragraph blocks. And we have yes. We'll move on. We'll also be, are you a part of the CBA? And let's say yes. But if we said, are you currently enrolled as an undergraduate or graduate student, by selecting here, will always bounce you to the end of the survey. Now, the rest of the survey is under construction, but you will always see this if you selected graduate student on that question. So heading back into Qualtrics, let's build out one more question before we're done with this block. And in this question, we're going to do multiple choice. And if we're talking about CBA majors, we need to ask, what is their major? What is your current major? And I will list all the majors along with their shorthand. Great. Here we have accounting, computer information systems, e-business, finance, real estate and law, international business and marketing, marketing and human resources, and technology of operations management. So these variables are nominal, which means we need to recode them. So again, we're going to come right down to this question behavior and do recode values. Because when we export this survey into a data analysis application, most likely SPSS, we need to disseminate what these variables mean. So we're going to click recode values so that we have numbers corresponding to the variables and variable naming. That way, this information will get exported with it, and we know what each of these numbers correspond to. Great, and we can see that this symbol has popped up the top right. This question has recoded values. And as you get more familiar, you know that each symbol has certain things, and we will address those symbols later in the question as well. So we're building out we're currently done with our CBA block, and we can go right back in the presentation. So we saw the demonstration done, and let's move on. How to make your questions relevant to the participants. Why do we want to do this? We want to respect their time. Participants are helping us, and we have a promise to them to respect their time, but also engage with them better by being dynamic to their responses. How do we achieve this? By using skip logic, carry forward, and display logic. So carry forward takes the selected answers and transfers them to the next answers. Now this works best in a matrix question, which I will demonstrate, as well as display logic, which displays certain questions depending on the response to previous questions. So let's hop right back into Qualtrics and demonstrate. We're in a new block. We're going to name this block restaurants. Everyone's got to eat. Add a new question here. I'm on multiple choice. Great, and let's paste over our question. Please indicate all the groupings of food establishments in which you've dined at in the past 3 months. And here we see the options of campus groupings. We have Los Avilos, food court near the Forum, the Bronco Student Center, Center Point, Innovation Brewworks, and Poly Trolley. Now, display logic and carry forward logic are like bridges. They get you from point A to point B. So in order to install the bridge, we need to have point B built out first. So let's add the next question. This is going to be a matrix table to demonstrate carry forward logic first. So we get popped up with this menu. We have a question text. We also have statements and scale points. So our question text will be, how often do you go to the restaurants located in each of the following groupings of food establishments? And by clicking down to carry forward statements, we can choose the question that it carries forward from and where it from. We have, please indicate all the groupings of food establishments in which you've dined in the past 3 months that are selected choices will come through here. In scale points, we're going to look at some of the default scale points that it can have in a matrix question. So let's look in this menu and click Use Suggested Scale Points. And it will pop up with these, which are not correct. So let's look at other presets that would be more relevant. We have dissatisfied, satisfied, appropriate, appropriate, a simple male, female, non-binary, true, false, yes, no. But let's go with this intervals preset, which gives us never, once a week, 2-3 times a week, 4 to 6 times a week, and daily, which describes our objectives perfectly. So that was our ending of our lesson on carry forward, but let's install the display logic before we preview this. So let's do a multiple choice. And this next question will betray what we're trying to install here. But out of the food court near the Forum, which food establishment do you prefer? And let's paste over our options. We have our options here. Now, if you could tell by the statement, we want to install display logic. So if they stated that if they've gone to the food court at the forum, they'll get presented with this question. And we can install that by going to display logic. And it'll come up with this if statement. We have question, but we can have so many other things that are more intermediate. Please indicate in the past 3 months which ones you visited. That is food court near the forum. Let's save that. So that's installed. But let's add one more. Let's also do one for the Bronco Student Center. Out of the food establishments in the Bronco Student Center, which one do you prefer? And let's list those. Do display logic one more time. Great. Now, in order for this to work, we're asking them all the groupings of food establishments which they have dined at. So we need to change, allow one answer. It will default to allow one answer. But since this is asking, please indicate all, we need to change this to allow multiple answers. And as you can see, Qualtrics is saving the change right there. And let's look at this in preview and see how our bridges are working. We will always land at this page unless we place the bookmark to immediately go somewhere else. And let's participate in the research. We are a part of the CBA. I'm an undergraduate student, and I'm a Tom major. Great, so we got past our CBA undergrad block that would have bounced us if we hit not part of the CBA or not an undergrad. And we'll get this menu. Please indicate all the groupings of food establishments which you've dined at in the past 3 months. So I want to demonstrate this twice, so I'll place a bookmark here. And let's do Los Avilos and Bronco Student Center. So although we have installed food court near the forum questions, as you can see, we can select multiple, but it will not give us those options if we only selected 2. We will get only the 2 that we selected. It'll be on this matrix. Let's go once a week and once a week here as well. And also out of the food establishments in the Bronco Student Center. So we see that that display logic is working flawlessly. Great. So that is the end of the restaurants block. Let's hop back in the presentation. So we showed that example and we can move on. Next, we're going to talk about how to eliminate question location bias with choice randomization. Now, question location bias is a known phenomenon that affects the rate of selection depending on the order of the answers that are presented to the respondent. And we're going to do this by using the library behavior block. So let's hop right into Qualtrics and let's demonstrate. We're at a new block. And let's type into this one, library. This will be a multiple choice question. And we will paste it over from our Google Doc. When using the university library, which floor do you prefer? And let's paste in answers 1 through 6. Now I've done this question because I think those orders, when we pasted it in, go 1 through 6 straight, but it's a great demonstration of how they're going to get jumbled here. So we selected the question, and let's scroll down to choice randomization. We'll get this menu, and we're going to select display answers in a random order, although there is more intermediate options here. We'll save. We can see the symbol at top right denoting this question has randomization. And let's preview. So although we inputted it 1 through 6, and let's go to our bookmark. In this one, I'll hit the full code at the forum because I previously not done in Polytron. And we will get this matrix. Great. And we see that when we inputted it 1 through 6 earlier, this time it's jumbled 3, 5, 2, 6, 4, 1. So it's displaying them in a different order, and it will do this every single time that the question is presented automatically. Now, going back, if we're serious about preventing choice order bias, we need to look at our other questions to see if they're applicable. This consent screener is not applicable. We want yes and no to be in the same places in the research, or else it confuses the participants. We do not need to change this. We do not need to change this because undergraduate comes before graduate student in the question, so that should be in this order. But let's also change this randomization, the majors. So again, we're going to go display answers in random order, save, and we see that this symbol has popped up to the top right. We'll also randomize this. This does not matter on randomization because it's dependent on the last question. Well, let's randomize this one as well as this. Great, so we're preventing question location bias with choice randomization. Let's hop back into the presentation. So we saw the demonstration, and that was a pretty quick learning objective, but we will be moving on to piped text. Interactive questioning with piped text is the most advanced function that I will be teaching you today. Piped text works by taking response in the previous question and displaying it back to the participant in the question. It's like carry forward, but carry forward lists the answers that you selected in the next answers. Piped text will list it in the question. Now, this is great to create dynamic surveys, which is the overall objective. So let's hop right back into Qualtrics and create. So we're going to add a new block. We're at a new chapter in the survey. And we'll name this one Preference of Class Type. New multiple choice question. Pasting over. Preset questions. What was your preferred type of course instruction for the fall 2021 semester? Now, I chose fall 2021 for a couple reasons. One is over. People have set opinions about it. Two, it was a bit of a weird semester. Some people were back in person. Some people were still fully online. And I thought students got to taste most of these options and therefore could have an opinion on them. Now, I'm also going to create a new question, and I truly want to hear your opinions. I'll make a text entry. And that's right. Why did you pick? Stop right there. We're going to click on this piped text option, and you'll get this menu, a survey question we're from, what was your preferred type of course instruction, and hit selected choices. Now we have other options here if this was independent and we only wanted it this one or this one, but let's just use selected choices. We'll come up with this text, which quickly represents what it's coming from. It will not show up like this in the survey, but it tells us what it's going to show. It's showing a question ID 10. We can see that this is question 10 up here, so that's the same question ID. Choice group that it is is selected choices. So quickly we can know that it is the selected choices on question 10. And this is a question, so let's add a question mark. Now, this is theoretically done, so let's look at it in preview. We'll go back into preview. I'll use my bookmark to skip to that. And you see that these questions are in a different order again. Great, and we arrive at the question. The pipe text isn't working, there's errors. We get this question, but this is blank, and even when we select this question, this isn't working. That's because piped text has dependencies. It has things it needs for it to work correctly. And there are three things. One, this question needs to be on allow one answer. The next thing that needs to happen is that it needs to have response requirements. Now, response requirements forces a response from the participant, and it will stop them from moving on until they give a response. Now, looking at response requirements, there are a lot more places where this needs response requirements, especially the consent screener. If they wanted to just start the survey and skip this question without requirements, they could. We can't allow that. So let's force response there. We especially want forced responses on skip logic questions. And so let's establish those. And let's just put it on everything because I truly want to hear your opinions and there is no risk to the survey. So let's get requirements on every single one of these questions. And you can see at the top right of these questions, a symbol will appear denoting this question has response requirements. So we can quickly see if it's covered. Now, the last thing that needs to happen here is between these questions, when you mouse over, you get this option to add a page break. That is extremely important because if we're landed at these pages and these questions are presented at the same time, it will not work. So it's extremely important to put a page break here. That way they have to select next in order to encounter this question. So let's hop back in and see how it is. Let's preview and let's look at our response requirements. If we wanted to not do an option here and click go through, it no longer lets us. Please answer this question. Yes, I'm part of CBA, I'm an undergraduate, and you can see these are randomized, but I'm still a Tom major. And we get this question again. Let's do these three. We can see that three show up in the matrix. And even if we had left one of these blank, we still cannot go through. We get these display logics. And these are in a different order one more time. So we double checked our survey that it's working. And we see what is your preferred type of instruction for fall 2021. We do not see the pipe text question afterwards. So that page break is fully functional. I'll hit face-to-face. Pipe text function will be working. Why did you pick face-to-face? So it dynamically is responsive to my previous answers, and it's putting them back into the question. And this will be a text entry. Great, so that is fully functional. So we can exit out of the preview. And we are now done with this chapter. We addressed the dependencies of pipe text, and we had a demonstration. Pipe text also saves the researchers' times. Instead of setting up multiple display logics, one pipe text can get the job done. So let's move on to menus and miscellaneous functions. And this is all about polish. If we are creating something, at the end, we need to polish it. So we'll learn how to change settings and look and feel. So when we're at this survey, we'll get greeted by this menu and all of our question blocks below. But remember, we're in survey and builder tab. There are so many other menus in Qualtrics, including workflows, distributions, which I will address at a later time, data analysis, where your data comes in, results, and reports. Let's focus on, it's also columns, which is survey flow, look and feel, and survey options. We're gonna focus on look and feel. So this paintbrush will take us to this menu. And since you have an account through CalPy Pomona, it will give us a dynamic theme of CalPy Pomona. But looking at this was the preview that we saw. Does anybody notice anything? Type in chat your answers. You are right, Joseph. That's the old CBA logo. So let's change that. We want our survey to be fresh and clean. Now, we also get other pre-baked themes, such as this white one. But let's stick with this theme. I really like the green, and it also matches up well with CCIDM. So we'll get theme, layout, general, style, motion, logo, and background. So we can customize everything to do with the look and feel of our survey. But let's just go into our logo here, because our objective is to change that logo, and you'll get this menu. We can remove or change. Let's change it. You'll get this menu, and I've already uploaded some other images, but I'll show you how to upload a new graphic. We'll get this file. We'll get our menu to come up in. So I'll do my CCIDM assets and CCIDM logo. So we get a nice preview, Center for Customer Insights and Digital Marketing. We'll save, and it'll import it automatically in here. But it's hard to see, it blends into the background. Even on mobile, it really doesn't look that well. So let's change it one more time, and it'll pop up into our here because we've already imported it. And I'm gonna use this emblem, which is an edited together of the CBA and the CCIDM. Now these assets are able to be downloaded by anybody off the CalPy Pomona website. And it updated great. You can see it looks a bit better on mobile, not very optimized for desktop. In fact, it sticks to this left corner. Let's change that in placement. We can also change the style, but that's not very relevant right now. Now, placement is just like writing in left, centered, and right justification in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, such as you're typing. So let's just put that in centered. You can see it'll move to the center here. And that looks a bit better. We can also change the height and the mobile scaling of the photo. More things we'll address is going back into Builder. We want to save our changes. Let's talk about auto numbering. So when we export this survey into a data analysis program, these auto Q1, you see Q2 here, you see Q3, those will show up as our variable names. And for organization and easier analysis, let's label a couple of those. So CBA, yes, no. Do undergrad. Now, very important, when you export, it messes up data analysis when you have a space in the variable name. So let's do an underscore. Yes, no. This will make it so much easier when we store variables later. We don't have a space. And we'll do major. That way, when they pop up, we know exactly what they're referring to. Let's also talk about how to distribute. So if we want to be done with the survey, it's done. It's not quite polished, but it can be disseminated. But we're going to go in this top right, publish, You'll get this menu, and we'll get an optional description of what we want to label it as for our version history. We can hit publish, and it's activated. Anyone, if you copied this link, you could take this survey right now. But let's look at some other distribution methods. We could copy the link, but by going up the distributions, we can change how we want to distribute the survey. We don't have any responses yet, but we can do an email. We could do it through social media. We could do it through download. We can even make this very quickly into a QR. If you scanned it, you could just get participants just like that. So if we wanted to retain work, but export this survey, we wanted to share it with someone else quickly, they can immediately get the template. That would be something called exporting the survey. And to do that, we'll go to Tools, and we'll get these options. Auto number questions, reset our recode values, generate test responses, review, collaborate, which I'll show you soon, but also import and export. And let's do export survey, and it will download it very quickly and very compactly into a Qualtrics file name called the QSF. And you can see that. Qualtrics Workshop QSF, it will download as. And if we go back to the main menu of Qualtrics, you can see that I have responses, but I'll create a new project. I'll create it with the same menu that's familiar. And let's get started into a new one. But how do we want to start our survey? Let's import a QSF file, that same file that we just downloaded. So here's the file. And let's do Qualtrics Workshop tutorial imported. And when we create project here, it will read that QSF file and create the whole survey for us just off of that file. Now, it is moving a little slow here. And you can see everything pops up just how it is. And we know it's a different one because of the different title. See, this is imported here. So we covered export and import. But let's say we wanted to share this survey with other collaborators. You can share the survey and work on it together, just like Google Docs. How that would happen is through Tools, Collaborate, and we can share this survey with anyone who has a Qualtrics account. It works great. And as you build out better projects and bigger projects, it naturally is going to need more eyes and more workers. So as you can see, Qualtrics menus and miscellaneous functions are very important. So we addressed look and feel, we changed our logo to the new CBA, we did auto numbering, we distributed the survey, and we exported and imported. Let's recap our learning outcomes. First, we learned how to get started in Qualtrics. We also explained how to establish credibility and gain trust from participants using a cover page. We designed a survey to filter out participants who are not eligible for the survey. We only got CBA undergrads. We improved engagement with participants by avoiding irrelevant questions with skip logic and pipe text. We made the survey responsive to participants' previous responses with carry forward. We explained how to eliminate question choice location bias with randomization. And we got familiar with Qualtrics menus and functions. Thank you very much for your time today, and I wish you the very best in your journey with Qualtrics. Here is my LinkedIn to connect with me and the Center for Customer Insights and Digital Marketing social media resources.